Yes, please.
Should we start?
Yeah, sure. Please start.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Entrepreneurs Roundtable. A very good morning to the speakers who are joining from the UK, Mr. Nick Law, Mr. Chatterjee, and Mr. Ghosh. Welcome. Uh, while we are all trying to cope with the challenging times that we are faced with, whether it's at the individual level, at the organizational level, at the country level, or at the global level, we've all understood by now that we will have to move on and avail of the opportunities that come by if we have to move forward. So today's event is based on such opportunities that UK has to offer for Indian companies, especially in these challenging times, and how we can move forward. To begin with, may I request Mr. Mayank Jalan, President, Indian Chamber of Commerce, for his welcome. Mr. Jalan.
Please also request everybody to go on mute, please. Some of the participants have their audio on. I request all to please keep on mute. Yes, Mr. Jalan. Sorry.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of ICC, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to His Excellency Mr. Nick Law, the British Deputy High Commissioner in Kolkata, to this web gathering. Sir, we are extremely privileged to have you with us today and are eager to hear about the opportunities that Indian entrepreneurs can explore. I also sincerely welcome Mr. Nilabha Chatterjee, Director LUK Hospitalities Limited, UK, and Mr. Ujjwal Ghosh, Director AS Tulsi and Company Birmingham, to share their views with us. India and UK have shared amicable relationship for several years. The bilateral association heightened in 2004, culminating into a strategic partnership, further got meaning with the visit of the British Prime Minister, Mr. David Cameron, to India, and the subsequent visit of Shri Narendra Modi, Honorable Prime Minister, to India, to UK. Bilateral cooperation on economic and commerce matters have been guided by institutionalized dialogues of India-UK Joint Economic and Trade Committee, Economic and Financial Dialogue, and India-UK Financial Partnership. UK is the sixth largest inward investor in India, with a cumulative equity investment of USD $28.4 billion from April 2000 to June 2020, accounting for around 6% of all FDI into India. On the other hand, India has become the second largest investor in the UK by investing in 120 projects and creating 5,500 new jobs in 2019. This represents a 4% increase in the FDI from India to UK in the year 2018-19. Amid the ongoing pandemic, where business communities across the world are facing massive recovery challenges, entrepreneurship is seen as the new messiah to economic recovery. Hence, at this juncture, India-UK business ties need to strengthen further in order to harness the entrepreneurial potential of Indian businesses and the UK expertise. With an idea that developing key sectors such as advanced manufacturing, life sciences, and renewable energy, amongst others, will help rebound post-pandemic and build on an attractive business environment across the UK for investors. Indian entrepreneurs stand a robust chance to be part of the process, given their continued resilience, optimistic outlook, as well as they want to be globally competitive and collaborative. I believe this session will be extremely beneficial for discussing the emerging opportunities in the UK and how Indian entrepreneurs can access those and make the most of it. I would now like to welcome His Excellency, Mr. Nick Law, the British Deputy High Commissioner in Kolkata, for his remarks. Thank you.
Mr. Jalan, thank you very much indeed for that very kind introduction. And namaskar, namaste, assalamu alaikum. A very good afternoon to all of you in India, and a very good morning to those of you in the UK. I'm indeed Nick Lowe, British Deputy High Commissioner in Kolkata, and it's a great, great pleasure to be with you this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are. Charles Dickens' famous line, the best of times, the worst of times, seems particularly apposite at the moment. I wish you all a truly happy Diwali. It's a time for the Festival of Light. I can't think of a time of year I enjoy more. Diwali, hugely important in the United Kingdom. The city of Leicester is the biggest Diwali festival outside of India, and it is celebrated in almost every town and city in my country. The worst of times as well, because as many of you know, we're back in lockdown until the 2nd of December. And whilst it's not as severe as the first lockdown, it is forcing everyone to work from home where they can possibly do so. As I'm sure in India, everyone here delighted by the announcement that the first many vaccine candidates very good results, 3 of the leading candidates. I think it's a very good commentary on the strength of our research and innovation offering. Let me give you a quote from a gentleman in the British government. While undoubtedly there are huge challenges ahead, I've every confidence in the resilience and resolve and good sense of people across the country, and that together we will overcome this virus, just as Diwali teaches us that light triumphs over darkness, good over evil, and knowledge over ignorance. Just as Lord Rama and his wife Sita found their way home after the defeat of the demon king Ravana, their way lit by many millions of lamps, so we too shall find our way through this, and we shall do so triumphantly. That, ladies and gentlemen, was Boris Johnson, my Prime Minister, speaking from Downing Street just last week. In the same message, Mr. Johnson expressed his admiration for British Indians, stating that Britain would be a lesser country without your contribution. I absolutely share his admiration and respect for our 1.5 million strong Indian diaspora in the UK and the huge contribution that they make to British society. So today we're going to shine a Diwali light and celebrate the impact Indian entrepreneurs are making on the business landscape in the UK. I've no doubt at all, you will have heard a lot about Brexit, you will have read a lot about Brexit, and some of you may have doubts. I'm just going to chuck a couple of very new statistics at you, which I think are very much worth bearing in mind. The first one, London has had a stellar record in attracting investment into new tech, high tech over the last few years. Let me tell you this, that since January this year and during the pandemic, London has attracted a further $4 billion in investment into global tech. That is more than Berlin, more than Paris, more than Stockholm, and more than Tel Aviv put together. So you tell me that Brexit is deterring investors. Secondly, a new and authoritative report from PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC, one of the big 4 accountants and management consultants, has categorically predicted that the United Kingdom, outside the European Union, will remain one of the world's 10 largest economies, both in terms of raw GDP and in terms of purchasing power parity through to the year 2050. It predicts France will drop out of the top 10 and Italy will drop out of the top 20. Now that's very important because part of that success of the British economy, and one of the things that's led PricewaterhouseCoopers to predict that, is the UK's ability to continue are much better than most of our European peers. We have a comparatively young population, unlike many of our European partners and peers. And I think that's worth very much bearing in mind as we begin this discussion. Let me now introduce our 2 panelists. I'm very much looking forward to hearing from them. Neelabha Chatterjee, sir, you represent a prominent Kolkata business group, the Lakshmi Group, with which we have very strong ties. You have diverse business interests in the United Kingdom, covering hospitality, food and drink, and retail. You're based in Birmingham, you've lived through the pandemic, and you have first-hand experience to share on what you see as emerging business opportunities in the UK. Second panelist, another distinguished businessman of Indian origin and again based in Birmingham, Ujjal Ghosh. You're a director of A.S. Kelsey and Company, a chartered accounting firm professionally advising several Indian companies regarding their business interests in the UK. Without further ado, let's go on to the questions. Can I start with you, Neil? How would you describe your entrepreneurial journey in the UK so far? Neil Chatterjee.
Thank you, Nick, for the introduction. Well, it's been a very interesting journey so far. It's been a tad easier for me, since I just graduated from business school in 2014 and immediately started researching opportunities of how we can set up businesses here in the UK. And of course, as all businesses require, when I first decided to take the plunge, I started looking immediately for the right kind of immigration lawyers who can advise me on the right type of visa. So that's definitely a very, very pertinent start. I first came here in the latter half of 2015, wanting to start my own chain of tea cafes, but I ended up running hotels. And to be honest, I'm very glad that I did, because even during this pandemic, I feel that the budget hotel sector has done better than most full service hotels. So I've actually been quite fortunate in that.
Thank you, Neil. Now, one of the things that struck me, and actually I think is terrific, is that we have two panelists who are in business outside London. The London story is widely known and deserves to be widely known. I think the story of other regions in the UK, probably less so. So what made you set up in the Midlands?
Well, the West Midlands, particularly Birmingham being the capital, is one of the biggest economies after London, and with a GDP of about 32 billion. There's recently also been a lot of spending on infrastructure. I'm sure some of you must have read the news that a new high-speed rail is connecting Birmingham to London. This will obviously shorten the journey time by about 70% and make it just over half an hour to reach the capital. Hence, there are a lot of businesses which were sort of erstwhile based in London. They are actually moving to Birmingham and setting up shop here. Another point which I feel is very important is the real estate prices are much more reasonable as we move sort of further away from London, which and Birmingham being very centrally located in the UK certainly has its advantage, so that we can cater to both the south and the north equally.
Thank you very much for that, Neil. I mean, I have to show my cards here. I am a Londoner, but I am a huge fan of Birmingham and the Midlands as well. And I do not question your judgment setting up there. But John, let's come across to you, if we may. Can you tell us how you help non-UK residents in exploring commercial opportunities in the UK, and in particular, whether you offer cross-border tax planning? Ujjal.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Mayank. Thank you, everybody. And well, good afternoon to everybody. And well, I started here a long time back, 20 years now. So when I came here in 2006, I started my chartered accountancy practice. I'm a chartered accountant from India, ICAI, and also passed the exams from ICAW. So I'm chartered on both the sides. Well, when it started, normally I started with a local practice. Then slowly we going ahead and set up a associate firm in Mumbai, and Mumbai investors. We are helping mainly Mumbai and Delhi and Bangalore investors and companies who are acquiring firms in UK, mainly pharmaceuticals, communications, and film companies. So we are catering to the non-resident Indians in the big industries houses. We have we got offices in Delhi, Mumbai, Singapore, USA. All associate companies are there. So we are AS Culture company. When we set it up, then we started a company called PVG Associates. So we are helping or setting up, helping in audit, taxations, R&D credits, all the taxation side, and the audit as well for all Indian companies, not only in Bombay, all over India actually at the moment. So anything in one place. We have office in London as well. That's in Hayes.
Well, Charles, thank you very much. Now, we got that we know of at least 650 Indian companies in the United Kingdom, turnover well over 41 billion pounds a year. Ujjal, why did they come to the UK? You've got a lot of experience there. What brings them to the UK? Is it ease doing business?
A couple of factors, a lot of factors, not a couple of factors. One is the easy to do business, more transparent, and a lot of ways to save exist in the way. There's a gap when somebody's taking over suppose there's a company example, for example, a pharmaceutical company working here, and somebody from India takes over the business, maybe 100 million turnover, then they know they're getting two opportunities. One is they got the backup office in India. I know it's getting other way around, say losing some jobs in the UK side, say saving overheads, plus that they're supplying from the India side as well, partly. So they're keeping the quality, keeping the R&D here, and saving money on the side. So they have a big gap. So they know there's a lot of opportunity here in UK in every respect.
Charles, thank you very much. Neil, I'd like you to reflect on the same question, actually. Why do you think Indian entrepreneurs come and set up businesses in the UK in such large numbers?
Well, I'll share a very interesting story on this point. Before doing any sort of business and getting into this whole entrepreneurial world, I actually had no experience in running hospitality-related businesses, and today, after a few years, I'm pretty confident of running multiple hotels and or businesses, basically, because I feel that this has been urged by the right type of atmosphere here in the UK. Namely, we've had very good access to funding from the UK banks. I'm not aware if you all know, but 90% of the UK's funding is controlled by the high street banks here. And I'll just share you some data. We have a total of 5.9 million registered businesses here in the UK, and 99.9% of them are classed as small and medium-sized enterprises, which means they're under the £5 million, or in Indian terms, under 50 crores. And hence, the banks have the right products to cater to their needs. Another very pertinent point is, the access to talent here is much greater than we have in any other place. For example, at least I've never been witness to that, because we actually have people of 14 different nationalities working in our hotels. Hence, it's this very diverse pool of talents that we have access to, that makes it so attractive, as a destination to invest in. So.
I think Nicola is having network issues.
Yes, I think he is having a network issue and he's not here at the moment.
So, I'm so sorry. I am back.
Oh, great.
Right. Sorry, I didn't want to startle you with too many facts, so...
I'm very sorry that the line fell briefly. We've got builders outside, and I rather suspect someone put their shovel through a cable. Never mind. Okay. Charles, can I come to you and ask you what you see as being the simplest and easiest UK company structure that an Indian business could look at? Maybe say a quick word on the concept of transfer pricing between linked entities.
Well, when the investor coming to UK from India side mainly, they look at two different ways: it's short-term and long-term views. Sometimes they come as a taking the money back in near future, then we normally set up a company, putting as a, if you take as a loan from parent company to this company, then if you're looking for a return of investment, then it's not the good one, because the interest here in UK, interest got withholding tax, 20%, but dividend doesn't have withholding tax. So normally, sometimes we suggest, if you know in short term, go for a preferential shares, redeemable ones, take the dividend, tax-free, then afterwards, convert the preference shares into loan and take the money back. That's the easiest way, the bigger way. And if it's long-term was, yes, go for a capital investment, share capital, take dividends for a long time. And setting up company in UK is the easiest one I ever seen. Any Indian individual can set up a company here. They don't need any local partner. Only problem is in that case is opening the bank account. But if you have a parent company backed by the guarantees, backed by the parent company letters, we can open bank account, we can have VAT numbers, we can do everything what we want. So easy to set it up in company here. Thank you, Neil.
Charles, can you tell our listeners whether it's necessary to own or lease office space at the time of company registration in order to register with Companies House?
Yeah, normally the accountants or the advisors, tax advisors, they provide, they do the setup of the company and also provide the registered office as well. And there are also a lot of virtual offices available in UK as well. They will give you the scanned copies of the letters coming from the tax authorities or Companies House. Because in company, when setting up company, you need two things. One is the confirmation statement once in a year, and once in a year filing the accounts and filing the tax returns.
Thank you very much, Charles. And for our listeners, that is one of the reasons why consistently the United Kingdom comes top of the league table as the easiest place to set up a business amongst any of the major economies in Europe. Neil, I'd like to come back to you, if I may. Could you share with the audience some of the success stories of Indian businesses that you've seen in the Midlands region, and say a little bit about how supportive you found the Indian diaspora to new businesses from the subcontinent arriving in the UK?
Sure. Obviously, I'm based here in the Midlands, so I'm very much in tune with the businesses that have actually set up base here in Birmingham and Coventry. The first one that comes to mind is obviously the acquisition of the Jaguar Land Rover group by the Tata Group in 2008, which obviously is single-handedly one of the biggest Indian-owned businesses here in the UK. And coincidentally, it's where I'm sort of based at the moment. They're literally about 5 minutes away from where I am. I would like to share a very interesting story that of a company called East End Foods, which is one of the biggest spice importers here in the UK. And more than 90% of the supply chain comes from India. I'm very close, to the person who actually runs it. And, again, it's headquartered in Birmingham, and it caters to the entire South Asian community, which accounts for, as Nick mentioned a while earlier, it accounts for about 7% of the whole UK population. And currently, I think they're doing about 200 million pounds of, spice distribution in annual sales, and is one of the very few businesses that are actually getting busier during the lockdown. But I wanted you all to take note of a company called the West Midlands Growth Company, which is a company that is based here in Birmingham. They have had a partnership with one of the Indian chambers, and they're forged a partnership, and there's a lot of support for Indian businesses wanting to come and invest in the UK. And I think this is probably a good start for any business which wants to come and sort of set up here in England.
Thank you, Neil. Have you been able to find good networking events, either in the Midlands or more broadly across the UK, that have been helpful in growing your business contacts and your reach?
Yeah, actually, we've just had a virtual Diwali event, which is held by the same company which I was mentioning, the West Midlands India Partnership. They do it in conjunction with the Consulate General of India, which is based in Birmingham, and it's certainly one of the most interesting events that I've visited, because it obviously gave me a lot of access to Indian businesses wanting to set up. I was recently, just as a success story, I was recently able to host a lot of executives from the big company called TVS, which is based, I think, in Bangalore or Chennai, which have been, sort of beneficial to even the upkeep of my business during these difficult times, because they actually, booked a lot of rooms with us, and I wouldn't have received it if I hadn't gone, to the Diwali event. So I thought that was very, very interesting. That perspective.
That's really interesting to hear, Neil, and it sounds like a lot of fun as well as professionally interesting. Ujjwal, can I come back to you? Would you bear to give our audience a ballpark estimate of the initial costs of setting up a company in the UK, please?
Well, to set up a company in UK is the easiest, as you say. Very, very easy to set it up, and they're very transparent as well. Normally, charge to set a company is £100 only. And then to give a registered office, it's about £40 a month. In a year, if you're keeping the company as a dormant, it normally charges a confirmation in the statement, £30 a year, dormant company accounts, £100 a year. And if it's a small company, startup only, and it starts with about £1,000 a year, so very small amount of fees you're looking at to set up the company and getting the offices here. It's not a big deal, but when you're starting up and going in more details like payroll, then you get the VAT. Yes, it depends on the turnover, depends on the transactions, the fees goes up. But to start up, it's not very expensive, and also it provides the banking opening facilities as well.
Thank you, Ujjwal, and for listeners who are not familiar with the exchange rate, this isn't quite true, but if you work on the assumption that it's roughly 100 rupees to £1, that will give you a handle on some of the figures.
Yes. Sorry, I mentioned in pounds, not in rupees.
Not a problem at all. I mean, that's not quite true, actually. I think it's about 94, but it's near enough. So if you're talking £100, you're talking roughly 10,000 rupees. I'm going to stick with you, Ujjwal, if I may. What's the minimum annual filing cost one tends to occur for a UK entity? And is there flexibility around filing timelines in the accounting year?
That's the beauty of UK Companies Act. The year end can be any day. Any day means any day. Even 15th of the March you can do, 15th of October you can do. So it's up to you which year end do you need. So normally we do month end, say, and then the filing comes 9 months from the day your year ends. So you get 9 months to file in the company's house and 12 months for the corporation tax with HMRC. The deadline is 9 months from the end of the year. End of the year can be any day, but I know in India, there's a fixed deadline is 31st of March. In UK, any day. And 9 months you get from the end of the year for filing company's house, and HMRC, the corporation tax, in India call it company's tax, is in 12 months. But if you're a large company, then you have to pay the advance tax the way Indian HMRC works. The fees wise, if it's a small company, very, very small, tiny company, you're looking at 400, 500 pound plus VAT. VAT is 20%. And it goes up complexity. I think, is it clear?
Ujjwal, thank you very much. I'm going to turn my video off because I'm struggling a little bit for bandwidth. Struggling to turn it off as well. Can briefly, a lot of businesses clearly have their own in-house accounting teams, and we can all understand why. Would your company provide training to a client staff as part of your overall management of accounts?
Yeah, we do. It's not that we don't do, we do. Sometimes it depends on the structure they have. So nowadays, like VAT return, we submit online. It's called MTD. It's called, and then you got the payroll is RTI. So it depends on some of the companies in India, they got their own software, and then it has to be combined with the local software here. So we normally give the training setup, say, look, do this way and this way. So we do give, yeah, definitely do give this.
Thank you. Neil, I'm going to come back to you. What are the best ways for aspirational Indian startups to search for partners in the UK, or indeed to raise finances?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I would urge the budding startups to get in touch with these different trade bodies, which are all over England. When I first came to England in 2015, I think y'all had provided me with a connection called London and Partners, because originally I wanted to set up base here in London. So these companies, what they do, once you come here to England, they set you up with these different companies who then who get you all the connections. Suppose if you need a chartered accountant, they recommend someone. If you need someone else, they recommend others. But I think the main interest of these companies is getting inward investment. So I think that a good point to start would be these different trade bodies that are there. I spoke a while ago about banks having the right products for financing small and medium-sized enterprises. They also have a very extensive program for financing innovative startups, and obviously, if successful, they can be an endorsing body. Now, I had, when I was here, I had come on an entrepreneur's visa, which unfortunately no longer exists. But there are visas that have replaced these entrepreneurial this entrepreneur visa, and they're quite good. So I would possibly start off with the trade bodies and the banks if they can support.
Thank you, Neil. That's very helpful. And just let me say, we're giving the United Kingdom is giving its visa regime its biggest workover for a generation, precisely to make it easier to attract talent like our colleagues Neil and Ujjal to the United Kingdom. I can't quite remember what the latest statistic is, but we issue something like 19 visas for every 20 applications. You might hear a lot of scare stories on the rumour mill about the difficulty in getting a visa for the UK. It really isn't like that. People get their visas. Ujjal, in 5 minutes' time, I want to go over to the audience for their questions.
Okay.
Can you tell us very briefly, does your company help newly arrived Indian companies in opening a bank account? And what's the current range of interest rates for business loans in the UK?
Well, opening bank accounts, yes, we do help. And we always work with the local bank managers, including the Indian banks like Bank of India, Bank of Baroda, State Bank of India, ICICI Bank. But bank loans depends, very difficult to get unsecured loans nowadays in UK, except the bounce back loans, as you know. So interest rates range from 2% plus base. Normally, they're not doing any more base slowly. They're going into the what you call LIBOR. So 2% over LIBOR. So it depends on the size of the company, the nature of business, and the guarantee you're giving it. So it is available. It's not that not available. Also, the local councils are giving as well. Local councils are giving funding up to £1 million if you're doing some kind of creating jobs. If somebody is setting up a company here, setting up a business like manufacturing, and depends on the number of employees they're generating. Local council like Birmingham Council, they got a setup up to £1 million, depends on the criteria. So, and the banks then the bank comes in with the security sector. But unsecured loan, I'm sorry, it's not possible nowadays. As Neil knows as well, it's difficult.
Thanks for that. In 3 or 4 minutes' time, I do want to go over to the audience and their questions. So forgive me if I skip 1 or 2 of the questions I was going to ask you. Neil, I want to go back to you because, you know, we're less than 2 months away from the ending of our terms of trade with the European Union. We wait to see what will be agreed. In the meantime, clearly, historically, Indian companies have set up their European headquarters in the United Kingdom. Do you think that will change after Britain formally moves away from the EU at the end of this year?
Well, it's not very certain right now because the UK hasn't reached a trade deal with the EU as yet. But historically, you know, they've had the same rules, and a lot of UK companies have taken advantage of the huge $18.8 trillion of the EU economy, which is roughly about 22% of the global economy. Since the UK is officially now out of the EU, what will be more interesting to see is how this impacts the trade deal between India and the UK, and how the countries can have sort of better access to the market. So I wouldn't think it would be very difficult, but I think the UK now has a lot of flexibility to ink trade deals with other countries. So things look quite interesting at this particular juncture.
Yeah, I won't get started on Brexit, Neil, because there's a lot I could say. Just let me give your audience one statistic. The United Kingdom is an 80% service economy. Now, we're actually still the world's 8th largest exporter of manufacturers, 80% the service economy. And the European single market is not a single market in services, never has been, much to our frustration. So 80% of the UK economy will actually not notice we've left the European Union because we've never had the benefit of a single market. Neil, I'm going to come back to you. Which sectors have you seen to be the most resilient during the pandemic? I know the supermarkets have been doing very well.
I was just about to come to that, actually. The biggest beneficiary that I've witnessed from this pandemic has been the e-commerce sector. Obviously, companies like Amazon, they've seen a huge growth in their worldwide sales. And as you mentioned, grocery delivery is now at an all-time high, with companies such as Tesco and Ocado. I would urge you to research them, benefiting from people ordering from home. And this in turn has helped logistics companies who actually fulfill these orders, have some growth as well. Food delivery, obviously, which something which I'm very passionate about, has also seen a bigger uptick during this pandemic, and more startups are actually trying to outcompete each other on getting the optimum business model. I was just speaking to a restaurateur the other day, and their delivery sales are now about 70 to 75% of their revenue. So it's pretty interesting how these companies will grow in their times, basically.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Ujjal. I tell you, I could sit here and listen to you all day. This is great. Thank you for keeping your answers so short, so concise. But at 20 to 6, I did say we would go over to questions and hopefully answers from you two, from the audience. Can we start that then? Can we have questions from our audience? And if I don't see any, I will continue questions to you.
You can surely carry on, Mr. Law. Do we have some? I think Ms. Priyam Budhia from Patton, she had a question. Priyam, are you there?
Good evening.
Hi, Priyam.
Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening. I had a question actually related to mental health care. So, we've seen mental health care in India is witnessing a spurt after the onset of the pandemic. And I'm sure it's the case, world over. I was just wondering that how can a social impact venture in the field of mental health care, which is based in India, explore collaborations in the UK both in terms of providing psychology-based education and certification, and also onboarding international therapists for consultations? Thank you.
Well, Priyam, thank you for your question. I was recently, I've recently been involved in a charity called the World Music Conference. It's run by a lady called Chitra Ramakrishnan. She's wanting to promote mental health through yoga and South Indian classical music, basically. So it wouldn't be appropriate for me to comment on most of the opportunities here, but certainly this is one opportunity that I definitely see as very promising, and I'm pretty sure that there will be several others that will share the same thoughts. Because there are groups that are sort of coming up with mental health, with the upkeep of mental health, basically. So I'm pretty sure you'll have access to a lot of these companies once you venture into England.
Thank you.
Priyam, regarding this mental health care, then, well, you can go to the website of Ofsted. You'll get more details. And Nick, I think you know as well. So this is our legal authority here in UK.
Sorry,
Ofsted.
what is the name of the
Ofsted.
website again?
So, sorry?
If you can just spell that out.
Okay. Sorry for that. Let me check it. We call it Ofsted. OFSTED, I think. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I'll email it to you.
Just let me add, and this applies to any of the other members of our audience with specific business ideas and are not sure how to proceed. Get in touch with us at the British Deputy High Commission in Kolkata. We'll be delighted to give you information. It's one of our core functions.
Great, thank you so much.
Please keep the questions coming. If not, I'll engage again with some further questions.
Good evening. This is Prashant Sharma. I had a question for on taxation front.
Please go ahead.
What will be the corporate income tax and the individual income tax rates for UK?
Well, Prashant, the corporation tax is a 1%, only 19% at the moment. Government was supposed to reduce to 17%, but because of the situation, it's kept at 19% at the moment. Individual, we got lower rate is 20%, higher rate is 40%, then it's got 45%. So it depends on the incomes, and up to 50,000, we keep it at 20%, then it goes to the higher rate. But when you're coming into the individual self-assessment, then dividend used to be nil rate before, and then now it's coming into the £2,000 is tax-free, then it goes 7.5% up to the higher rate, after that 32.5%.
And this is the same for foreign companies as well as UK-based companies operating?
Well, foreign companies, tax rate, corporation tax rate will be the same, but the dividend, when you're taking the dividend out and giving it to the parent company, there's no withholding tax.
Very well. Thank you very much.
Did I spot a question for, yes, Manish from Ranchi in Jharkhand. Well, welcome. Would you like to give your question orally, please? It's possible you're without audio. Yeah, I can see Manish has said I already gave the question. Unfortunately, I'm doing this on a mobile phone and your question's disappeared. Sandeep, could I ask you to read out the question if you have access to it?
Hello, Mr. Nick, can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Well, we are into food processing and had been doing this for quite long time now. And we would like to start in UK. So how to get started actually? Because there must be some phytosanitary measures and all that, possibly.
Well, sorry if I may, I have again, I'll mention it to you. The trade bodies that you have, obviously start with the British High Commission. They will introduce you to these trade bodies. Anything regulatory, you will find a whole list of opportunities, of options. And I think if you heard me speak before, I was speaking about a company called East End, which is a major spice importer. And they're one of the pioneers of the West Midlands India Partnership. So if you want to get in touch with them directly, then we can obviously get you in touch, or if you want to get in touch through other means, I would start off with the trade bodies with any questions that you have related to food processing.
Neil, that would be too kind, because somebody who is already into business will possibly be more helpful for a new starter. So if you can
Yeah,
get us connected to them, it would be of great help to slowly build on one by one.
sure, I will do.
Thanks.
Manish, really good to hear from you. Thank you for the question. And it's funny, food and drink is often not one of the first sectors that comes to people's minds when thinking about the UK, but it's actually a huge business sector in the UK. It's world class. It's a very big exporter. And if you come to the UK, and we hope you will come to the UK, you will find yourself entering a very highly developed and competitive ecosystem, but there's always space for new companies coming in, and you'll be very welcome. Any further questions? I'm not seeing any, so I'm going to take advantage of this to, Ujjal, I'm going to ask you, what are the business support schemes the UK government has that your clients have found useful during the pandemic?
Well, during the pandemic, I think this government gave the best one probably. I never seen anywhere else. Everywhere they're giving the money away. Well, starting from the furlough, 80% of the wages. So you don't have to pay anything if you close the company. Government is giving you the civil loans, and there's no guarantee on that. There's no security on that. And then if it's a smaller companies, less than 3 years trading, then you're getting the bounce back loans. So then you're getting 10 years to repay it back at the rate of 2.5% interest. On top, the local councils, if you're a small business ratepayer, they're giving you up to 25,000 as a grant. And after that, in the second lockdown, they're giving you £2,100 per month. So it's everywhere grant at the moment. So people are really saved because of that. And thanks to the UK government for that.
Thank you, Ujjal. I'm sure listeners will have found that hugely useful. With 5 minutes before we go to Rajiv for the wrap-up speech, what I'd like to do, and if you members of the audience, if you have got questions, there's still time. Fire them in. If not, Neil, what would be your message to an Indian investor on current business opportunities in the UK? And if someone gave you a pile of money, where would you invest yourself?
Well, I'm certainly very biased with the food sector. So my message would be just to simply keep up with the current trends. A lot has changed since this lockdown, and this might be a pattern for the years to come. Having worked in hotels, I've never believed in working from home. For example, I'm in the hotel now as well. But a lot of companies are achieving more productivity by having online meetings and cutting travel time. Hence, the trend moving forward will be to have more of life at home. And as I've mentioned earlier, food delivery is something that that excites me a lot. Hence, people will be sort of expected to order more food at home, whether it's in the raw form or the cooked form. So any good business which works on these trends will surely have the recipes to succeed in the future. That's my opinion again. So.
I have a question. Excuse me.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my video is probably not there, and this is Dr. Subhash Khanna from Guwahati, and I'm a surgeon, a robotic surgeon and entrepreneur running two private hospitals. I would like to know what facilities or what are the avenues for medicos, and I must tell you the problem that I'm facing right now. I'm working with a British firm who has supplied a robot to me from Cambridge. It's called CMR Surgical. And now I'm doing a research work, but we do not have private ethical committee permission. We do not have any private ethical committee. So we have to go to the government, and which are not sure whether they can give me any ethical permission to go ahead with any new procedure. So first of all, I would like to know what facilities and what are the avenues for medical entrepreneurs Indo-UK, and second, can I get our surgeons trained there, and can we train British surgeons here, because we have a volume of work here. And the third point is why can't the government write to our government that if there's any research project, it should be centrally granted a permission rather than writing to the local bodies, which are a bit confused whether they can allow or not. I hope I'm clear about it.
Thank you. No, they were very. They weren't the easiest questions I've ever heard, but they were very clear. Thank you for them. Neil and Ojal, do you have anything to say on those, or would you like me to?
Well, I won't be able to sort of comment on the specific technicalities that you asked me, if someone can be trained here in the UK. All I can say is that I see a lot of healthcare-based startups which are trying to take advantage of the market here in England. As we know that you probably must be aware that the NHS is one of the biggest organizations, and the healthcare is completely on the government here. So I feel that there are a lot of opportunities for healthcare startups, but I wouldn't be it would be unfair for me to sort of comment on something very specific. But as I said, I keep saying this again, but there are possibly these trade bodies that can sort of help you with that front. So unfortunately, I won't be able to answer your exact question, but I would urge you to get in touch with the trade bodies.
I'll chip in.
Thank you.
I'll chip in there very briefly and say, also refer your questions to us, and we'll put you in contact with the right people. It is 12:25 p.m. by my watch, which means it must be 5:55 p.m. in Kolkata. Rajiv, I think I need to thank you for your hospitality and hand the microphone to you to wrap things up.
Thank you, Nick. First of all, let me thank you for not only joining, but also moderating the session and making it so lively and interesting. I think the session is really fruitful because the session addresses the basic issues of setting up, entering the market, registrations, going into like how do you start your banking, taxation. So I think the session really is, and I'm sure we will be having this video placed on social media platforms. So the session truly becomes a quick guide for anybody who is wanting to enter the UK market. And listening to everything, I think it really sounds very, very exciting. And in terms of ease of operations, ease of setting up, I think UK definitely is rated very high. And as ICC, we would like to encourage our members and non-members to seriously look at opportunities. And ICC will be happy to work with the UK Deputy High Commission and the team to facilitate such kind of interactions. I don't think there is need to emphasize on the deep and the long-standing relationship which UK-India has. India is the second largest investor in UK. The trade between the two countries rose almost 10% in 2019, which is among the highest annual growth between two countries last year. And also the technology, digital, healthcare, services, engineering, manufacturing. UK already has significant investments in India. And with the technology edge and with the huge market, whether it is manufacturing or services, I think UK definitely is an attractive market. And I'm sure people who are here, they also are aware that India is also now opening up the FDI sector. So India is also equally attractive for the UK companies. With these words, I would like to thank our esteemed panelists and experts. Neil Chatterjee, thank you for sharing very insightful thoughts. I think it really helps the companies who are wanting to look at the UK market. And I'm sure your experience, your insights, and your small tips, people would find them extremely useful. Thank you. I would also like to thank Mr. Ujjal Ghosh for, in a very simple manner, explaining the whole complex topic of setting up taxation, banking, and I'm sure he's there to help the companies and also any company wanting to enter UK. I'm sure he'll be happy to work with you. So we are thankful to you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ghosh. And last but not least, I would also like to thank entire UK Deputy High Commission team. I can see Sandeep here and the entire team which worked at the back end. Thank you. And thank you, Nick Wax. Once again to you and your entire team. Thank you.
Rajiv, thank you very much indeed. Thank you to Mr. Chalantu. We love working with you. You're always genial hosts, and you're great conveners. And we've had some really good questions, really good online audience this afternoon. Can I conclude also, Neil, Ujjal, you've been brilliant. You really have. You've had me in the palm of your hand, and you were so concise in your answers. And I think where we've only got a very short period of time, like this afternoon, and we've just used up an hour, that's really important. Let's do it all again.
Nick, you are breaking.
I think it's already 6 o'clock, so
Yeah,
we probably lost it.
It's time to break.
Yes.
Thanks for giving us the opportunity to speak to you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely pleasure, Mr. Ghosh.
Thank you.
Mr. Chatterjee, good to see you again.
Yeah, thank you, Rajiv. Cheers. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Nick, if you are listening to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandeep. See you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, Sujay. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandeep.
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, all the participants, for joining us.